said, I feel like a voodoo doll. It's gross. Today I'd like to inform you on voodoo. Voodoo plays a very big role in Louisiana culture. Since you guys are in Louisiana, you should know about the misconceptions of it and what it really is. I've been to New Orleans many times where voodoo is practiced still to this day, and I've researched it numerous times. As I tell you about voodoo, I'd like to inform you on the misconceptions of it, what voodoo actually is, a little bit of history behind it, and the controversy of it. Now that you know my main points, let's begin with the first one. The definition of voodoo is basically a three-tiered spiritual system based on God, spirits, and ancestors. A single absolute God and creator is very much part of voodoo, but God is mostly detached from everyday life. Rather, a host of spirits, voodoo interacts with humans in all matters of fate and fortune, says the New Orleans Historic Museum. So in other words, voodoo is its own religion. Instead of worshiping a Bible, they worship their ancestors and tangible items. There are plenty of definitions and misconceptions of voodoo and what it really is. Voodoo is very misunderstood, and it does not practice Satanism at all. It is not so much as evil, but simply its own religion and culture. Even the word voodoo is misinterpreted. When people hear that word, the first thing that comes to their mind is evil and dark, like magic, or like Emma Watson said, grim and gross. But it really means just spirit in African language, and is nothing but another religion. So, voodoo misconception started from St. John's book, where it stated that human sacrifice took place. There could be no bigger myth than that. Human sacrifice has absolutely nothing to do with voodoo. In fact, human sacrifice comes from another religion in Haiti. Another myth of voodoo is that people who perform it are cannibalisms. This follows from the human sacrifice, that the people would actually eat the people after sacrificing. That's definitely not true. Voodoo is far from evil. The only reason it is so misunderstood is because out of the norm with our religions. Every country has their own culture and religion. We're used to Christianity, atheism, etc. that when we are put out of our own element, we tend to listen to the myths instead of really knowing what something actually is. Now that you know what voodoo is and the misconceptions of it, let me give you a little bit of history behind it. Voodoo has a lot of history, so much that if I were to cover everything, I'd be here all day. So I'm going to give you a little inside look at voodoo, where it came from, who brought it, and how it was really practiced. Voodoo originated in Africa 6,000 years ago. It came from Africa through the slave trade, bringing in African Americans that practiced voodoo as their religion. Upon arriving, the slaves were not allowed to practice their voodoo religion and were forced upon Catholic beliefs. The slaves found ways to secretly place their religion through Catholic saints. They would find similarities in these saints' portraits and worship the pictures when they were actually worshiping their own religion. Voodoo was also practiced through herbs, poisons, and ritual creation of charms and amulets where their intentions were to either protect or harm others. A charm used in voodoo called the Uwango was used as poison from an enemy, to poison an enemy from the roots of an African maudit tree. Other things used to practice were bones, nails, roots, holy water, or crucifixes. Voodoo is still practiced today. If you've ever been to New Orleans, and I'm almost positive that you've walked past or visited one of the many voodoo shops, a big rock star in the voodoo world who is still talked about to this day is Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau is a biracial woman, a Creole in Haiti. Her skin was very light, so she was able to communicate with both blacks and whites. Marie Laveau was a voodoo priestess who basically overthrew all the other voodoo queens and spread voodoo everywhere. What she did personally for other people, though, was either bless them or send other people curses for them. She was mostly visited when people were in danger or harm's way, so she would grant them that wish. But when she was visited, each person would have to give her something in order to receive her help. Today, if you visit her grave in New Orleans, Louisiana, you'll see XXX all over her tomb, which stands for her desire of their wishes. So now that you know my first 2 points informing you on voodoo, let me tell you about my final point. So the reason voodoo is so misunderstood from what it really is because of Hollywood. Television has a huge role and influence in the audience on the subject of the matter. Voodoo has an unusual fame because of the underground religion when the religion was exhausted from all the negative opinions. Hollywood has a huge influence on the audiences. A film from 1932, White Zombie, led voodoo in a completely wrong direction when giving voodoo dolls a bad reputation. For instance, on Scooby-Doo, the cartoon once showed voodoo dolls of the characters being hexed and stuck with the needle and hurting the actual characters wherever the needle was put. That was nothing but a myth brought from TV. The dolls were actually used as a symbol of a person, usually by attaching a picture of the person or a lock of hair. Like any other religion, the voodoo doll in itself is not an evil or dark thing, but it can be made dark by the person who handles it. So in conclusion, Voodoo is greatly misunderstood, and not people really know the history behind it. It's basically its own religion. It can have some evil in it, but its main intention is just like any other religion. It has a lot of history behind it, and Hollywood has a huge impact on it. So when you leave today, I'd like for you to understand that voodoo is not practicing Satanism, it's not black magic, and there's a lot of cultural history behind it, and it's just a misunderstood religion. Famous singer Wyclef Jean said, "My grandfather was a voodoo priest. A lot of my time was dealt with spirituality. I can close my eyes and remember where I came from." Thank you.